friends, I'm Valeria from Chase and Paper. Welcome back to my channel. And again, I'm going to say a huge thank you to all of you for supporting my channel. I appreciate every view, every like, and every comment that you leave on my videos. And I have a question for you guys. What would you like to see me do in one of my next videos? Do you have a certain tutorial in mind, or do you have a certain technique that you would like to learn more about, or is there something else? So let me know in the comments. I really want to hear from you. Now about our project. So I recently ran out of my coffee dyed paper, and it's winter here in the United States. And what I typically do for coffee dyeing my paper, I usually take that process outside, outdoors, when it's hot and sunny. And I wasn't able to do it the same way this time around because the weather is just not cooperating. So I came up with a really quick and easy process. And no, it does not involve your oven. And let me tell you something, when I first tried out my process, I loved it so much that I don't think I'm ever going back to the old way of coffee dyeing paper. Now, this is a very quick and easy process, and not only it's perfect for the beginners, but even for the seasoned crafters. Give it a try. You might like it better. If you ever watched any coffee dyeing tutorials, or if you've done it yourself, you know that this process usually takes hours at best. Sometimes it takes days depending on which process you're trying to follow. And sometimes you also have to be stuck in your kitchen for hours on hand, taking papers in and out of the oven. I don't like that because who has the time for that, right? Now my easy process takes just about over an hour, give or take. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it in a second, but before we begin, could you please make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with a friend or two. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And now let me show you how I do it. So we are going to begin by making our coffee. I'm going to use instant coffee. This is what I'm using, but the brand doesn't matter. Whatever you have on hand and whatever you prefer. I recommend buying the cheapest coffee you can find because you're not going to drink it and you're still going to have that wonderful smell and a beautiful crunchy texture to your paper. I'm going to use my measuring cup and I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of coffee. You can add less or more depending on how dark you like your paper to be. And now I'm going to add 2 cups of hot water. Mix it well to make sure your coffee dissolves. Now the coffee is naturally acidic, so we are going to neutralize that acid with some baking soda. Maybe just about 1/4 teaspoon. Just be sure not to put too much baking soda because it's going to kind of alter that lovely coffee smell that we all love. I'm going to set it aside to cool for a couple of minutes. Next, let's protect our table from the coffee drips. I am going to use my common sense and this plastic tablecloth. If you don't have one on hand, you can use a trash bag. Just lay it flat on your table and it will work just as good. Next, I am going to use this cookie cooling rack. You may already have one in your kitchen. And now let's get our paper. I'm using this regular printer paper. It's a 20-pound paper, so it's pretty thin. Definitely not cardstock because that would take longer to dry. Try to work with acid-free paper if possible. Otherwise, just work with whatever you got on hand. And I got a little stack of paper here. I would say maybe about 30 pages. Here's our coffee. And I'm going to use this nylon bristle brush, and this is a white brush. It's a 3-inch brush because this is going to make our work go a lot faster. All right, let's start with our first sheet. Dipping my brush into the coffee and painting it. I'm focusing on the edges, not trying to soak this paper in coffee, but making sure it's all completely covered. Now I'm going to take my second page and I'm just going to put it on top like this. And I'm not going to paint this page because we have enough coffee soaking through already and we're going to have more coffee coming in from the top layer. So it's going to get covered. Putting the next one right on top and we're going to paint this one. And as you can see, you may see some bubbles or wrinkles. That's okay. That's going to add to the uniqueness of our design and the fun texture later on. Again, I'm not painting this one. Putting the next one on. And so as you can see, I'm basically painting every other sheet of paper. And that's also going to give me this beautiful variety in color. So some of my pages are going to be darker than the others. And I like that because some projects call for lighter paper. And for some projects, I need darker, grungier paper. So I'll have a variety of colors to choose from. So I'm going to continue with this process until I painted about a half of stack of my paper. Once I reach that half a stack mark, I'm going to start working on my second half of the stack right next to it, right here. And again, I'm going to repeat the process. And we are going to continue until we are done painting our entire stack. This work goes fast, especially if you're working with a white brush. At this point, I finished painting my entire stack of paper, and we are ready to take it to our drying station. As you pick up your cooling rack, you might have some coffee drips underneath, so it's very helpful to use some paper towels to kind of catch those drips and wipe it down. This way we don't make a mess as we're carrying it through the house. And off we go. Lo and behold, my secret sauce for this project is this old reliable box fan. We are going to put this fan on the floor on its side, just like that. And now we're going to place our cooling rack with our paper right on top of the box fan. So there we are, friends. Our cooling rack with paper is sitting right on top of the box fan. If you want to score some bonus points, you can put this whole contraption underneath your ceiling fan, and that's going to make your paper dry even faster. I don't feel like rearranging the furniture, so I'm going to leave it right here. And I'm going to turn on my fan to the highest power and set my timer for about 20 minutes. Perfect. Now, as your paper beginning to dry, you may notice that some of your pages, especially the top layers, are starting to lift off and maybe they're trying to fly. Well, for that reason, I'm going to place this wire basket on top. The wire basket works great for this because it has some weight to hold the paper down, but it also has all these holes, so we still have the air circulating, which is exactly what we need for the fast drying process. If you don't have a wire basket, maybe you have another cooling rack in your kitchen. Anything that looks like a grate will work. So now it's been about 20 minutes and our paper is beginning to get a little bit drier. I'm going to divide this stack about in half and I'm going to flip it over. This is our first sheet that was drying against the cooling rack, and we got a really cool design on it. I really like it. So the pages that are exposed to the air on both sides are going to get darker than everything else in between. And I'm okay with that. I like that I have choices on the darkness of my paper. We are going to quickly rearrange these stacks. Basically, we're just flipping them over so that the papers that didn't get much air are going to get some air now. I'm spreading out my papers just a little bit, and I'm putting my basket back on top. And I'm going to leave it on for about 45 minutes. So at this point, our paper is pretty dry. We do have some slightly damp pages in the middle, but that's quite all right. I'm going to go ahead and remove this paper and take it onto the table. So there we go. Here's our basket of paper. And you have a beautiful variety of colors here. If you still have some stragglers that are kind of damp, like this page, you can go ahead and heat it with your blow dryer for a minute. Or you could just set it aside and let it dry naturally. But most of the stack is kind of dry and ready to go, and it took us just a little bit over an hour. And we didn't have to actively do anything. We could just go ahead and go about our business. unlike the process with the oven or drying it page by page outside. That was fast and easy. Now I'm perfectly fine with a bit of wrinkles on my paper, and I like little waves and just kind of a natural age-worn look. But if you prefer your paper to be straighter, you can always go ahead and iron it. I set my iron to the hot setting, which is linen, and be sure that your steam function is off. And what I usually do is I do not press every single page separately. I make a stack of about 3 or 4 and go over them all together. Just like that, really quick and easy. I'm flipping my pages over, going around the back. May even separate the stack in the middle to give those pages in the middle some love. There, done. Off to the next stack of 4. So as I said before, for this project, I was primarily focusing on getting a stack of plain and simple coffee dyed paper. But if you want to take it to the next level, you can definitely add some fun elements or beautiful designs to it. In the past, I used to use doilies and pieces of lace and plastic lacy tablecloths to create my designs. And don't get me wrong, it does look beautiful, but it's also very time consuming, and it truly is a labor of love. So if you don't have time for it, or maybe you don't feel like spending a whole lot of time on dyeing a stack of your coffee paper, I'm gonna show you the hack that I found for myself and I've been using since. I hadn't gone back to using the whole lace and doily technique. So let me show you what I started doing instead. I'm gonna show you my hack. I am using my stencils instead. Totally simple and fast solution. Now, it's very important to choose the color of your Distress Oxide or your Distress Ink, right? I want a light and subtle design on my paper. So for this color paper, a Distress Oxide in Gathered Twigs color works best. This color is just a little bit lighter than everyone's favorite vintage photo. Now, if your paper turned out a lot lighter than mine, then you might want to try Distress Oxide in an antique linen color. My other favorite color of Distress Oxide is Tea Stain. I use that one a lot. I'm going to use this paddle brush. This is actually a makeup brush, and I bought it at the Dollar Tree. They came in a pack of 2 for $1.25. You can't beat that. But you can also find them on Amazon. This works really great with stencils, especially with the intricate ones with a lot of tiny little holes and windows to fill in. This works best. And here we go, lifting it off. We got a nice subtle design on our paper, which looks like it was coffee dyed into the paper, and no one really knows how it was done, and you may even forget yourself because it's such a perfect match and it just kind of looks organic with our paper. And it was fast and easy, and we got a beautiful paper with a lovely design. And you can use any of your favorite stencils to achieve different looks. But the trick here is to keep the colors light and sort of have them melt into the background, so it kind of matches the look of your coffee dyed paper. And so it's perfectly easy to get this paper out of the stack and put it to good use in your journal later. And our stack of paper is now finished and complete and ready for your creativity. And the most important thing is we accomplished it in a very short time, and we didn't have to worry about the weather outside, whether it's sunny, hot, cold, or rainy, and we didn't have to use our oven and be tied to that project for a whole entire day. So there you go, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed this little project. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments, do you think you're going to give this a try? Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I can't wait to see you next time.